So I'm speaking with Amber Goldfarb. She plays Electra in the Punisher No Mercy fan film. So, Amber, can you tell us how you got involved in this project?
Well, I had been working with Sean for a couple years at the mocap studio at Ubisoft, and we both realized that we were very passionate about combat. Actually, the first time we met, we had to do a fight scene. And Sean was like, "Oh, you know how to do this stuff," and he was like, "It's rare that you get to meet an actress who has experience in combat." And we came up with the idea to start a group of people that meet up once a week or whenever we can and just kind of work on fights, work on choreographies just for fun. And we did that for, my God, at least a year. And then we had the idea to do this film. And it actually started, we choreographed the fights before we even had a script or anything like that, because that's initially what we were so passionate about. And then we chose Electra. Like, initially we wanted to do the Punisher, and then we chose Electra because we thought that it would be a good character for me based on both my look and kind of my energy, and we thought it would be something like I could really bring something to that character. So we came up with a script around the fights and around the characters initially, and we really tweaked it and worked it until we felt we had a very strong script, and we're really lucky because we have an excellent writer, Davila LeBlanc. He's a very talented writer. He works in TV, and then Sean co-wrote it with him, and they're both consummate professionals when it comes to their knowledge of the Punisher, I have to say. Both in terms of their work, they're consummate professionals, but their knowledge of the Punisher, I mean, they know the character inside out, and they really wanted to make sure that they did the character justice. So yeah, that's how I came to be part of the project.
For studying the character, did you get to read the old Frank Miller Daredevil issues or the Jason Aaron Punisher Max to find Elektra's voice?
I read a little bit of everything. I looked at a lot of photos too to get a sense of how she was represented. I found that really inspired her physicality for me, her energy. And we really wanted to bring a gritty quality to the piece and to the characters. We didn't want it to be just like, we didn't want Electra to be a sex object, because sometimes she can be portrayed as just a sex object. And we wanted her to be really like, no, she's an assassin. She's an assassin for hire. And she's a little crazy. And she does have a messed up past.
Yeah.
So we wanted that to be all under the surface, but we really wanted it to be about the story. So that was really important to us. And also in terms of the costume, we didn't go with like something with a lot of cleavage. It's still a sexy costume, but it's not about that. It's practical. Like, she has to do a job in that costume, so it has to be practical. We didn't go with heels, we went with combat boots. A lot of our choices came from wanting to have a realistic portrayal of the characters. Yeah, and I had a lot. She's a really fun character. I had a lot of fun with her.
What was like the training part for you? Like, what can you describe? It was a long training process to have the physical appearance of Electra and also do with all the psi training.
Yeah. Well, we actually don't use the psi in the fight. I use it once.
Okay.
I show up with only one psi. And you don't know why. That's going to be explored in our prequel.
Well, that's part of the storyline.
Yeah, that's in the prequel. So I show up with one side, and then I use it initially. And he comes at me so strong that I don't even have time to go back to that side. I'm just warding him off the whole time. So our training was, like I said, we started with the fights before anything. So my friend Fred Nguyen, who is in the film as well, he is an excellent martial artist, and he helped me bring like a real martial arty feel to it. We did like the way that Punisher fights is very different than the way Electra fights, so we wanted to have that difference. Like she really is a martial artist. She has clean moves. She's well trained. So we worked on tightening that, whereas he's a little bit more like brute force. Not as tight and clean in his movements. So we really wanted to differentiate the characters that way. So it was just a lot of rehearsing and training and making sure that my fighting was on point. Yeah.
Also about the costume, were there many different versions of the costume trying to get that perfect look for Elektra, or it was just like one shot?
No, well, Vicky Walker, who's also Sean's wife, designed the costume. She did a fabulous job. She drew sketches first, and we talked a lot about it. We discussed a lot, like, what was the look we wanted to go with. We looked at a lot of pictures, and like I said, we wanted to go with something more practical. So we were like, how do we make this practical but still attractive and still iconic? Because, you know, it has to read Electra, right? So yeah, we really started with the sketches, images, and then we even like played around with the color, like which shade of red. We wanted to go with the darker shade of red because we thought that would be something that's a little bit more practical as an assassin, to be a little bit more stealth, not so visible. So we went with the darker shade of red. And then throughout the making of the costume, we adjusted it. I mean, she took measurements of my body to make sure it fit every inch of me perfectly. And then we tweaked it as we went along to make sure that it had the right look and determining the length and everything like that.
Yeah. So what can people expect from this fan film from Punisher fans and non-Punisher fans?
They can expect a film that looks like it was made for a lot of money, even though it wasn't. Our production value is very high because we had a great team of people and we had a lot of resources at our disposal. And we went with a really realistic, gritty feel, real comic book feel. We wanted the character. We didn't want anyone to be stereotypes, or we didn't want any of the characters like we have some mafiosos in the film. We didn't play them up like caricatures. We wanted them to be really realistic and grounded in their performances. And we made sure that the characters all felt real, you know, had a history. We don't delve into their history, we don't delve into their backstory, but we wanted that to come through on film, that these characters aren't just villains. They're not just bad guys. Like, they have their backstory, they have a history. And, I mean, the fight sequences, we worked so hard on them to make sure that everything was on point, really well rehearsed. I think that our fight sequences are going to be very exciting. Yeah.
Outside of Punisher, you've done a lot of voiceover acting in the Assassin's Creed series. Can you tell us your experience doing voice acting work for video games?
Yes. So I started doing video games. I started as playing Christina Vespucci in Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood. And that was kind of funny because when I auditioned for that character, I thought I was auditioning for a short film because they were casting for Lineage, the miniseries. And to this day, I don't even know if I was auditioning for Lineage or if they were just saying that it was for the film and it was actually for the game. But I got a call like a few months later, long after I thought that I didn't get the part. And they were like, yeah, come in and record for Christina. So I was really excited. She's a great character. And I initially just did the voice. And then I told the voice director, I was like, you know, I know that they're doing this mocap now. I would love to do the mocap for my character. So he put in a word for me because it's a different team of people that does the voice work and does the motion capture. He put in a word for me, and I ended up getting to do it. And I just fell in love with it. I have so much fun working in games. So.
Can you tell us the physical demand of a mocap compared to voiceover work?
Well, you know, it's kind of disjointed in a way. Like, whether you're doing just voice or whether you're doing just mocap, it's not an integral performance. It's part of a performance. So, I mean, the ideal for me is to do full performance capture, where they're getting your face, they're getting your voice, they're getting your body, and it's really your performance. But for all kinds of reasons, they can't always do that. Sometimes they love one actor's voice, but they don't have the right body type for the character, or they're using a voice of an actor that's in another city or, you know, across the continent or across the world, and they have to hire local actors to do the mocap. So it's kind of, you have to, when you're doing the voice work, you have to visualize and imagine the physical element, and when you're doing the physical element, you have to, you know, visualize and imagine the voice element and sync with that. So it's a very different experience. It's kind of like doing mocap to another person's vocal performance. It's kind of like dubbing in a way, but with your body.
I don't know if you're able to answer this question or not, but there's going to be a 4th Assassin's Creed game. Without mentioning anything in detail, will you be a part as a voiceover role?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have anything else you'd like to mention? How people can contact you on Twitter or what other projects you have lined up?
Yes. Well, I'm working on I just shot a teaser for a web series with my friends called Werewoman. So you can check us out, werewoman.com. And we're applying for funding with this teaser, so the more views that we get, the more comments we get, the better of a chance we'll have at getting funding. And it's a very, very fun project, so I highly recommend you check it out. And you can find me on Twitter at Amber Goldfarb, and also you can find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook page.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Amber.
Thanks for having me.
I hope to see you soon and talk about the Punisher once it comes out.
Yes.
Don't forget Punisher No Mercy. Check it out on Facebook.
Yes.
Bye.